5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Welcome now to the Crank Revolution Podcast, your source for cycling shenanigans. Listen now to our hosts, the purveyors of pedals, as we teach you more about cycling every single episode. So sit right back, pop a cold one, and enjoy our show. Can you believe it? It is episode 9. We are 9 in. First of all, we want to thank you guys, A, for listening. Number 2, we want you to reach out to us. If you want us to cover something, if you want to learn something from us, hit us up at crankrevolutioncycling@gmail.com or definitely get to us on Crank Revolution Media on Facebook. But we've had some of you getting in there. I want to give a huge shout out to Jane, a wonderful runner who's been listening and sharing our podcast. Thanks for contacting us. Also, Justin from Wisconsin. We're here for you. Thank you so much for listening. And Lena from Germany. Woo-hoo. We have our international listener.
International.
We appreciate you guys so much.
We're making it.
We're going to jump into a crazy one today. We had a thing happen. But first, it is Friday. Time to celebrate your week and pop a cold one and listen to us. Let's hear it.
My fingernail's stuck.
So it's great. Greg's trying to open a Crowler,
Yeah,
which
he
is a
can't
32-ounce
open a
can.
huge can. Yeah.
I mean, it's a massive can. You thought a Foster's
Did you
can was
seriously
big. This
fail
is
at
much
opening a
larger.
beer, Greg?
It's a
no
gigantic
nails.
can. Oh, yeah. You can't let that go to waste, Mark.
Slurp
It's
it,
everywhere.
slurp it.
It's everywhere. A good thing we're all insured.
All right, pour it out.
So what do we got here today? What's it called?
We have another one from Microphone Brewing. This is Rhubarb Love.
Rhubarb, like the plant that grows out in your backyard that tastes bad, and if you eat it too late is poisonous?
Unless you put it with a bunch of strawberries and you make a pie out of it, in which case it's delicious, then yes, that's exactly what we're talking
Well,
about.
great. So let's pour some of that. Let's see what
Yes.
happens here. I feel like microphone.
that's a
That's
very
twice
red
we've
beer.
shouted out. Oh, that is the
Ooh.
pinkest beer I've ever seen. It's like grapefruit colored. Or rhubarb.
Or rhubarb colored, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, Greg, what kind of beer is our Rhubarb Love from Microphone Brewing?
This is actually a sour beer. Specifically, this is a Berliner Weiss. With this, you should get a couple little tastes out of marshmallows, vanilla, strawberry, and of course, Jeremy's favorite poisoned thing in his backyard, rhubarb.
Yes. So, listeners, raise up your own here. This one is to you. Thank you for listening and helping us get to episode number 9. Let's take a sip.
Prost.
It's also 8.5%.
That's
I mean, I do.
nice.
I got a solid inch.
That is really
Inch
good.
ahead.
Okay, that is
Nice.
ridiculous. That is
So,
awesome.
The flavor out of that beer, I know it's very sweet. It's very decadent.
I have
It's
never
very rich
tasted
flavor.
anything that flavorful.
And most sours, really give you a kick in the teeth where you're just
Yeah.
like kind of tart at the end. This one, it goes down really well. It's a nice
Is there
dessert
like a
beer.
vanilla? There's a creamy flavor in there.
Before we start our show, let's check in with TC and From the Mechanic's Mouth.
Hey guys, this is TC, and today we're talking about helmets, most specifically when to replace them. And so I get really nervous a lot of times when I'm out at an event and I see people wearing helmets that are about as old as I am. I know you can be really comfortable, you can be really used to having that helmet, but helmets should be replaced every, at most, 5 years. It's a Snell rating, Snell designation, so Snell is a safety testing company, and so they're 5 years. For them, it's the ethyl polystyrene, the EPS foam inside of that helmet starts to break down, and that helmet would no longer pass the same safety ratings after that 5-year time period. Another thing that's going to cause a helmet to be replaced is when it gets used. When's a helmet used? When you crash. And so not every crash is going to cause a helmet to have a failure, but if you see indents in the foam itself, if you see cracking, that's always the time to replace a helmet. It can be as simple as something, a helmet dropping off of a table can cause that break because it's really meant to absorb that impact, transfer that energy into itself, and where it cracks and breaks down, that's what causes the helmet to fail. Please replace your helmets at most every 5 years. If not, after an impact, have someone like myself, a mechanic, someone who's got a lot of time in the bicycle industry, really kind of stop, take a look, and really inspect the helmet to see if it's possibly still safe. But always, you can just replace it, and that's always the safest bet. This is TC, and that is From the Mechanic's Mouth.
I didn't know if I wanted to share all the stories from this, but you see what happened is Greg, if you remember a few episodes back, wanted to put together a little bike tour. Well, I'd love to say that we chose to split into 2 teams, but there might have been a slightly different skill level. And if last week they might have been the breakaway, Greg and Chris, and we
What?
might have been
Spoilers.
the Gruppetto. We didn't even have a Peloton. We were just the
Just the
Gruppetto.
Gruppetto. think I screamed that a couple of times.
Yeah, so tell us, Greg, what were we supposed to do?
Well, we were supposed to travel about 62 miles northwest of our new shop, which
Yeah.
can't wait to have all of you listeners come in and visit with us. We decided to also fit in 12 hours of video shooting, I should say, into our ride when we had like 4 hours until sundown. So, I mean, it was going to be a great ride. We were going to be going along the Fox River Trail. We were going to see some nice views. We were going to stop in through Crystal Lake, see Crystal Lake Brewing maybe, stop for a taco, ride up to Woodstock, and eventually end up in Rock Cut State Park.
This is a delightful plan.
Yeah,
It
in
would have
Rockford,
been.
Illinois.
It would have been, but it is the tale of two bike tours because I'm sure we had two very different experiences. Now, we actually haven't discussed this much, meaning Mark and I don't know everything that happened with you guys, but I'm pretty sure you know everything that happened with us because I have no idea what you were doing waiting all those hours for us to get there.
It was the best of rides. It was the worst of rides.
The tale of two
Oh,
bikes.
So
very
where
good,
to
very
start?
good.
So you two, how did it go for you, and when did you kind of roll in, and what did you do while you were there?
I loaded up the route. We all had it on on our Garmin's.
I didn't.
Unofficial,
He's a natural Garmin.
our unofficial
You
sponsor
rub
of
it on a
GPS.
piece of metal, and he spins around in a swimming pool, and you can tell which way is north.
Well, and TC was,
does work.
to his credit, goes, no, that first leg of this ride, that's terrible. You don't want to ride that. We're going to go this way. It's like, all right, cool. Chris and I, we yell it back to Jeremy and Merck, and we leave.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
And we
So-
turn right. We have not turned at all when we've had this conversation. Chris and I turn right. The next hill we go over, we look back, and we don't see
they're gone.
two people.
Well, let's look at this, though. So there is a small age disparity between the millennials and then Mark and I, which are a little above that. So here's
How's
the
your
thing.
AARP?
Oh, it's wonderful. Yes, I just renewed my subscription. You two are like, yeah, let's just not follow the route and let's go. Well, we're very literal people. We're sitting there, and all of a sudden, the first turn, I'm like, wait, stop. Pull over. My Garmin is recalculating, and it's like 1%. 2%. And I'm like, okay, it'll be like 5 minutes. And then it reroutes. And then all of a sudden we're like, okay, this doesn't make any sense. It's not going where we're going. We get to the next turn that we think it shows on the screen and it starts recalculating again. We had, 30 minutes of delays recalculating in the first 5 miles?
Because finally, at one point, we just looked for the colored line. We'll just go for that.
But in fairness to Greg, we could have hit zoom out like 10 times on the screen and just simply done what Chris and I would do on tour and say, go northwest.
go
Yeah, I was going to say,
Northwest.
the one
Yes.
thing Chris would keep saying was, all right, we need to turn left or right. Chris goes, Greg, I just need to go northwest. You just tell me the name of the road. I'll figure it out.
So we definitely had a small setback in the beginning because we took directions literally, as in, let's follow the little line on the Garmin. We shouldn't have done that. Should not have done
That's
that.
not what you're
Sometimes
supposed to
you
do.
need to leave the Yellow Brick Road. It's okay.
If it's not a race and you don't need to hold to that course,
Well,
Yeah,
I
feel free.
didn't know where Rock Cut was. I've driven there on an expressway, but it might
It's
be a magical
Rockford.
route.
It's, I mean, it hasn't moved in your entire life. The last
I
60
no one
years
goes
you've been
to
around.
Rockford.
we could literally
Except for
argue for the
Rockford
next
listeners.
half hour about this, where it's
mean,
almost
20
like
minutes and
you
15
knew
seconds.
where Rockford was in general.
Well,
And you
just like
coulda
I know
just
where
gone
Germany
there.
is in general. It's on a globe, and it's in my study.
It's in your what?
It's in my study.
Oh,
the
you-
little,
oh.
the
Yeah,
globe.
you know,
Yes.
it's that room that smells of
You know
rich
yours flat
mahogany
in real life.
Yes.
and
It's not-
leather-bound
it's not
books.
round.
Did you guys have a smooth tour? So you had 62, 63 miles, 1,000 feet of climbs. How'd it go for you?
The ride out, not too bad.
It's very straightforward.
It was not that bad. We stopped in Crystal Lake at a gas station
For
to get some
30
extra
seconds.
food. Yeah, we each grabbed a candy bar. We ate that.
Did you
I had
guys
a
get
Baby
dinner?
Ruth.
Did you get a
right?
lot
I had
of-
a Baby Ruth.
Yeah, I think
It
so.
was delicious.
it was-
Yeah,
it was-
I mean, it was ones where we were just knocking out miles, not really thinking about anything else, not really talking, and just like pedal, pedal, pedal.
It's so we know that once we're off the trail,
A Zen
now we'll
cycling
have
experience.
we're having to fish, but like move around people and everything
Yeah.
like that. We're salmons on the trail.
Once we got to that long stretch after
That was
Woodstock,
Woodstock.
once we got past that, then there was the Kishwaukee Highway, which was a 17-mile
Straight west.
straight as can be, and like not too much undulation. A very, very flat. Very.
I still have a bit of an outline of Chris's shadow burned into my retina from the sun just
Oh,
cooking
yeah.
into me.
But also, I mean, on that section, we were averaging what, like 22 miles an hour.
Yeah, and let's
Oh,
see.
yeah.
How much
Yeah.
gear
Us
did we
too.
have on?
Yeah.
I mean,
So I had my small backpack with my hammock, my sleeping bag, our proposed camp food, I had the espresso maker in my frame bag, a coffee grinder, coffee beans. Because you can't pre-grind your beans for an overnight. You need to bring them fresh and grind them at
Did you
that
bring
day.
Cheetos
God.
this time?
No, but I brought Sour Patch watermelon candies that were delicious. And so I was very lightweight pack.
You had just the partial frame bag.
Yeah, just my top 2 frame bag.
What were you riding?
I was riding my Specialized Diverge Pro MY19.
That's more of a
Diverge Pro.
gravel bike than
It
a road
is,
bike.
and because we had expected some gravel, so I was riding 33 millimeter tracer tires with tubeless and carbon wheels, carbon frame, carbon seat post,
Average
carbon everything.
22.
And Di2 everything, all the electronics.
So meanwhile, with my setup, I had my sleeping bag strapped to my handlebars. I had my full frame bag, courtesy of Rogue Panda, and stuffed with a water bladder, my tools, a patch kit if I needed it, my sleeping bag liner, probably the pad I was sleeping on, and then I had a saddlebag hanging off the back. I think my entire setup weighed just around 40 pounds or something like that. And we're averaging, as we said,
Yeah, like 22 miles an hour. Just
It was brilliant.
Yeah.
There was no problem at all. We're swapping back and forth. We're each taking a pull. Traffic's going by us. But we're just going, oh, man, what should we have for dinner tonight?
Yeah.
Never really thinking, what's happening to the
What's
guys
behind
behind
us?
us?
Well, here's the question, though. When did you roll into this campground at Rock Cut
That was
State
just
Park?
around sunset.
right around sundown, like
Beautiful
like
sunset,
8:45.
setting up
We
hammocks
were-
and tents.
So, yeah, we arrive right at sundown. We check in. We stop off at Little
camp
Lodge.
store,
The
get-
camp store. I got ice cream.
Got ice cream.
You got some firewood for
we
us.
got firewood.
And we set everything up just as the sun is going down over the lake. And we're going,
Where are they at?
Where are they going?
So, Merc, they sound so happy, and they're
I know.
already reminiscing like a bunch of old men over an iced tea and an Arnaldo Parma on like a, on a porch. Did we have that experience?
No.
In a rocking chair.
Yeah,
no. But I will give it to Greg that it was a very pretty path that he took us on.
Yeah. It would have been
Yeah.
a great route, but everything kind of went wrong for us.
Oh,
so,
everything.
So what was our first mistake, other than not trusting the Garmin, but trying to follow a literal Garmin route when they already diverted and didn't tell us?
Complete and total faith in electronics.
Yeah, we shouldn't have done that. The newfangled magic witch box.
Would it be the bug attack?
What, like locusts?
Oh, no, we were
No.
just
It was
getting
like
decimated.
from Starship Troopers, like those
Pretty
bugs.
much.
Yeah,
oh,
those-
the
oh, yeah.
arachnids.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out when you're not averaging
what happened to your
22,
leg?
you're averaging 11 or 12. The bugs can fly 11 or 12. So we were
They
dragging
can keep
them.
up with you.
If you've seen Galaxy Quest where they drag the magnetic mines, that was us dragging mosquitoes. That was number one. We had to stop and get bug spray.
Yep.
Then number two, though, our pace was really not flying that much, was
No.
it? Now, I had a bike that had about 65, 75 pounds.
You overpacked.
Well,
We
you
were
never.
supposed to
We
do
were
some
supposed to do a ton of filming,
Yeah.
and if you're going to have somebody mule something, of course, put the least in shape guy. Well, between both of us, probably both of us.
Well, in
shouldn't have carried
Jeremy's
anything.
defense, he brought the computer, the mixer, his 2 monitors, all 4 of the speaker arms.
Yeah, Mike wouldn't come out and deliver the TV, but that's okay. Then another thing, though, so they rolled in at 7 and had a beautiful sunset. What time did we roll in? I can't remember
lost
because we
track.
didn't roll in that day. We did not even
No.
roll in that
Yeah,
day.
you
No.
didn't show up on Friday.
What do you mean? No, Chris and I, we waited for you
Yeah.
and for like an hour because
Yeah.
you set up your hammock. I had my tent set up, and we're like, we're a little peckish. Let's go get some food.
Peckish, yeah.
So we went 6 miles away to Steak and Shake because
Yeah.
the brewery we're going to was
like
closing.
Oh, no, we made steak and shake.
We made Steak and Shake. That was
on the
that-
church day.
Right, no, we went to Steak and Shake. We had our food. We rode back, and
Yeah,
it
we
was
got
what-
back about 11.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
And we
they
s-
still weren't there.
Nope.
no word, no idea what happened to them at
Yep.
all.
Yeah. Well, the reason was we talked nutrition a couple episodes
Yeah.
ago. Now, being a type 2 diabetic, I had no idea where my blood sugar was. Didn't pack any of that jazz. Don't need it. And I ran myself so low in blood sugar. As you guys can tell, I talk a lot, and these guys are used to me talking a lot. Mark's like, Jeremy. I was like giving him one-word answers and
Yeah.
just staring off into space, like, "You okay?" And I'm like, I couldn't even answer. My brain
that was
wasn't working.
that was pretty bad.
So I ate a bunch of things that were in the back of his sweat pocket, and then I started bouncing back.
Wait, was one a packet of chamois butter?
No, this was
No.
all. He had the shop
blocks.
blocks, but
Yep.
Okay.
which one flavor were they? They were
Salted watermelon.
so
those are
extra
good.
salt,
Yeah.
really good. And then we hit the bathroom and we decided to chill in the park for a while, and that was kind of my bunk period.
What park? Not Rock Cut.
No, a
No.
random
Oh.
park we
Random
found
park.
along the route. We just started walking
outside of
through.
Woodstock.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the first bonk.
Yeah, so I started bouncing
The
back.
first bonk.
Oh, yeah, he bounced back. Yeah,
no,
go
it gets
ahead.
better.
Go ahead.
So I had my bonk. In the sun, we're starting to do the finger thing at the horizon, 15 minutes per, and we're like, we have an hour of light left. And we're still just past.
So that would be like at about 8 o'clock.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
We were 2 miles, just
Yeah,
like
we were
4
about to
miles
roll
away
into
from the
town, yeah.
campsite.
so I started bouncing back, and then Mark, something kind of happened to you over the next hour. What happened to you?
Collapsed. It
Yeah.
was
You
terrible.
No.
No, I bonked
So hard.
very hard.
Not even a diabetic.
This was your first bonk, so this is the second bonk.
Yes.
Well, this is the second of our side of the bonks. We
Yes.
had more bonks on the other days, but that's okay.
How many
Yeah,
times were we going to
days.
say bonk?
You guys had a 2-day bonk,
Bonk.
or a 2-day tour. We basically had what felt like a
3-day.
five
Yeah.
hour tour. No, it was like 10 days.
10 days.
What sound does it make if I hit you with a plastic hammer?
Same as a pool noodle in a widget.
Bonk?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So you bonked hard, and then that was bad because at this point we're going through, and I felt like it was kind of like the flying monkey scene that was re-released in Wizard of Oz. All the trees are waving back and forth with terrible shadows. We find out Merc is a tough guy, a little bit afraid of the dark.
Just a little bit. Yeah, there's
Not
one
in the
thing.
dark, but
Hold
like
on.
being in the middle of a
Being in the
forest.
middle of the forest and not knowing where I'm at kind of got me a little bit thinking werewolves were going to attack me.
First, I think I know what area of that path you were talking about. And yes, there were werewolves.
Yeah, see?
Chris-
Scary at night.
Chris and I were carrying powdered silver with us to just sprinkle it at them so they go away.
So he's averaging at that point, what, 8 or 9?
No.
10? During your bonk,
We
you
talking
were just
miles?
down for a
During my
while.
We're talking
yeah,
miles
I was-
per hour?
Yeah, I was down. I was probably about 10.
And then we were running out of water. And we emerged from the forest in this nice little town. And they had nothing open, but there was a pizzeria with this beautiful neon sign. Oh my God, we could just get a slice, get our carbs back, drink some water. We open up the door. We hear the little ching. We go in there. What do you know? What time is it at that point? 10 p.m.
Was it
But it
that?
was 10:03, and they
Yes.
closed at 10.
10.
So the
So-
cha-ching didn't count for you to get in there?
Well, they didn't lock the door yet.
You're in small town
Yeah,
Illinois.
we're in
They
small
got
town
places to
Illinois,
be.
so
But the thing is, we were literally like 120 seconds from them shutting the whole place down, and we didn't know. So we're like, "Hey, can we get some food?" She's like, "We close at 10." We're like, "Can we get some soda or something?" We look in the cooler. It's nothing but bottled water, and there's one can of like a sugary drink. And I'm like, "Oh, what about that?" And she goes, "Well, that's actually just mine." So we bought 2 bottles of water.
Is that when you dropped the diabetic card?
Oh, you should have. That would have
I
been great.
could have.
Yeah.
I could have. So she sells us 2 bottles of water apiece. Thank you. Mark actually whipped out his credit card and bought it. And just as we're getting ready to pour the things out, all the lights are shutting off. They're actually locking up as we're still pouring the water in the bottle. The next 2 hours, we keep cutting through the forest. We keep going deeper and deeper. Now we're getting lost. When it's all dark out, there's no street lights, and we're trying to navigate by moonlight. And then all of a sudden, we came across a nice little farm with a dog, but not a little dog. I don't hear a bark. I hear the jingle of a dog's collar. I hear her screaming, "Get back here!" And I just hear thrum, thrum, like a thoroughbred racehorse on gravel. I can't see anything, so I gun it, and all of a sudden I'm over 25 miles an hour on a gravel road, and it's already like pitch black.
On a 70-pound bike.
Yeah, and I'm coming up to Mark. This is Star Trek. Scotty,
gotta
just
go.
give it all.
Come on, Mark, I shall miss
I passed Mark.
There's a dog coming. Get
I'm like,
going.
"Mark,
That's all
dog,
I got.
Go. So
Boy,
he
sugar levels jumped.
Oh, yeah, the adrenaline kicked in. And so we gun
Adrenaline's
it.
a hell of a drug.
And he's slowly catching up. I'm looking back at him desperately, and all I see is a headlight, and I'm like, "Please, I know you're bonking. Don't get mauled by like some terrible dog who sounds like a thoroughbred racehorse."
Death hound.
And we keep going, and at some point we stop. And we both realize we're still alive, and I'm pretty sure that dog doesn't have a Tour de France like level stamina, so we're probably okay. It's black. We can't see anything anymore. We can't read road signs. It's only like 10 miles to Steak and Shake. He decides, let's take the highway and just jump on the highway anywhere we can and get there quickly.
Well, that's what Chris and I did.
Yes, it
It's
is.
not like you jumped on 90.
They had construction gravel, but it's not the kind of gravel like you can ride on top of. It was the kind that you go in and sink in like quicksand,
Like
and you
2-3
need somebody to
inches.
throw you a snake to drag you out.
Well, here's the thing is that I relish that moment because that's the way I ride normally is on roads like that.
Yeah.
I just put my head down and just went.
Yeah, so there's a small problem with the taillight situation, though, I should mention. He had 2 taillights, and he wanted to ride in front. It's pitch black. It's a highway without streetlights, and if you veer 5 inches to the right, you sink into a pile of gravel and shred yourself. Well, I get passed by an RV, and thank you for the 3 inches they gave me with a motor home that was 50 feet. not only did like the suction thing happen, I just decided, oh hell, I'm gonna die. I just went straight off through the gravel and raised my legs up like it was a kid's hobby horse.
Why did you take your feet off the pedals?
Well, because at this point I knew it was super loose and squirrely. I'm just gonna crash on purpose. But I love it because then the motorhome passes me and he realizes he probably almost killed me, looks forward, see his 2 flashing headlights, and actually swerves around Merc. So now he almost kills me, but swerves around Merc.
Yeah, so lesson learned, always
Have
ride
a
with
taillight.
lights.
I asked him, why don't you be him back? But he wouldn't stay
Well,
back.
Why didn't you
Actually-
ask for his lights?
I
It
didn't
was
have a
steak and
taillight.
shake time.
Well, he had the crappy headlight. I had the amazing headlight. He had the amazing taillight.
See, yeah, I didn't have a taillight, so I rode in front of Greg.
You were never in darkness.
Yeah, but you
No,
were.
we were.
Going to Steak and Shake.
Oh,
we were.
okay.
Yeah.
But also, so if he had the taillights but not a great headlight, and you had a great headlight and no taillight, I think there's an equation there.
Hey,
That makes
different
sense.
countries
No,
have
no, the
negotiated
equation was
forever. That
steak
doesn't
and
happen.
I was hungry.
Yeah.
You see,
So the thing is, though, we're flying along. Merc really wants his steak and shake at this point. You guys text us like, "Hey, we'll be there. We'll wait for you." And if you guys are like, "Yeah, we're leaving. We're going back to camp,
Yep.
man." Like,
well, we're tired.
well, we did finally
I know, I
roll
went
in.
to-
So if we
my hair was all
review,
set.
we hit the pizza place at 10. We ran from the dog at like 11. We rolled into Steak and Shake, what, 12:15 a.m.?
Yeah.
So we rolled
Yeah.
in on the next day.
On Saturday.
And then we just really wanted to eat. We wanted to eat so bad. So we
And
did
you found
eat.
out all they had was cottage
Well,
cheese
let's
and
review.
fries.
You two have your Sour Patch Kids, your coffee makers, your espresso, all these wonderful things.
So yeah, so in order to help you guys find our campsite, because it's in the middle,
Pitch black.
It was what I thought was a
a
field where
large
we'd be
campsite.
completely by ourselves. When Chris and I roll in, we're surrounded by SUVs.
There's like 300 campsites. There's
like a
people
music
everywhere.
Yeah, it was supposed to be us by ourselves near the lake type of thing. I was like, this would be nice and relaxing. There are cars and people everywhere and screaming children. But at this time, everyone has gone to sleep. So I was like, how are they going to find us? So I take my rear taillight, put it in blinker mode, slap it in a small bag. This is perfect. They'll be able to find us. The
nice,
aliens should be able to
pleasant
find us.
strobe.
Yeah, the nice little strobe
But you had it
light.
facing up, though, because all the other tents, the density of the campers, your bright flashing light would have just woken someone up like a neon sign in Reno. We try to get to the campsite. Now, the thing is, your planning, Greg, was amazing. The maps on the GPS would have been amazing,
Yeah.
except the geography wasn't exactly perfect because my phone wasn't really tuning in to, say, 30 meters. So we're trying to cut through the park to even get to the campsites, and we're all of a sudden on like a Steve Irwin Midnight Ghost Adventures. We're on the trails now that they've actually blocked off with felled trees, and we're looking at the lake going, if we can just find water, we could just go around it by foot. We can just walk around the whole lake.
Which we discussed this the next day.
You're smarter than
Anytime
this.
you're coming up to a felled tree in the night,
Yes.
you turn around.
No.
You go back to the main road.
Have you ever
It's
seen a
obviously not
horror
the right
movie?
way.
No, in every film, whether it's Field of Dreams, something, some obstacle, and then you overcome it. Basically,
Yeah, I
what
saw
I'm
that in
saying
Field of
is
Dreams where Kevin Costner stepped over the cornstalk. Yeah, that was a good one.
that's how we got to the home plate to
Ah,
have his
okay.
Field of Dreams. It's the whole plot. Merc never watched enough Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Machine here
Apparently.
because he was going all on, oh, God, like every little sound, every little thing, he's freaking. He kind of said, there's probably a real path we could take. But at this point, we didn't want to jump on a road and find it. We're already at like 1 a.m. Let's just forge through the forest and get there. Let's use our grit. So we did. And we did eventually find our way.
We did. And that was it. It was fun. I look back at it, and it was fun.
Oh, but it took us like 2 laps to find the campground
Yeah.
because even though Greg's alien beacon was going off,
As you guys rolled in, I woke up and poked my head up and hey, and
He
then said,
did.
"There's
Yes,
some-"
he did.
And I think I just mumbled, "There's trees over there." You just said,
and then I remember when he got up and actually helped us set up camp.
Yeah, I
No.
remember.
No, that was a
No,
dream.
no,
That was a dream.
Yeah, I remember someone's headlight going across my tent, and I was like, no, whatever. I'm
I
just gonna go
tried
back
not to
sleep.
sweep you. I tried not to do that.
I know. You
It was
still
a
woke me up.
950 lumen headlight.
Yeah, so at about 2 a.m., you guys got to camp
Yeah.
to set up your hammocks,
Yeah.
set your hammocks, and then in the morning, I just remember waking up and like doing my contacts in. I look out and like, oh, somebody's already up. I'm gonna guess that's Greg, and it wasn't. Mark was already awake
I was
at
already
6
awake.
a.m. And
Yeah,
I was like,
4
cool.
hours of
I've
sleep.
got my I got my like 7 hours, which on
You
on
were
tour,
rested.
I was rested. I felt good. Yeah, I was like, cool. I'll get up and make coffee. And life will be good. And that was Mark. And I was like, oh, you did not sleep. Oh,
Not much.
Well, as TC has
I-
brought up, though, I had known for not waking up early, the weirdest damn thing happened. Now, Merc and I didn't have 4 trees for 2 hammocks. We had to kind of Laverne and Shirley it off one tree. So our feet, we decided, would be better together than our snoring head. So the problem is I woke up at like 7. And I'm looking out of my net, which is on top, and I see Mark's hammock. And it looks like it's strung up a little higher than mine. I'm like, damn, if I even move, I'm going to wake him up. So I spent like an hour on my phone. I was playing Angry Birds for a while going, I'm going to let him sleep if I just get up a little bit later. Turns out he's been having coffee with you the whole time, and I'm trying not to make a sound or get up to go to the bathroom.
By the way, TC makes an excellent cup of coffee in the morning.
And I was going to say,
it's totally worth it. Bring the whole bean, bring the grinder. It's totally worth it.
so, and I'm laying in my tent, and I hear them like slightly muttering to each other, trying to be respectful.
Yeah.
And I unzip, and I go, "Morning, guys," and I zip it back shut, and I roll over for at least another 10 minutes before I decide, all right, I'm ready to face the day. Meanwhile, you're still laying in your hammock, knowing that coffee's coming. I decide I'm going to get out of bed too. So you're still playing Angry Birds.
But the dumbest thing is, this was my one chance to get up before noon on a bike tour, and I'm actually awake without getting rest. My body does hurt. We bonked the hell out. I had like 5 hours sleep. I could have just gotten up and had a conversation with you guys, because now by the time I get out of bed thinking you're sleeping, they're like, I don't know, we should start packing up, don't you think? But I did get a wonderful cup of coffee from TC. That man makes a mean cup of beans.
You're welcome.
He seasons them in his top bag. He just goes 22 miles an hour. Yeah.
Was it the Sour Patch Watermelon Kids?
Yeah, no, they mix the flavor
mix-
well in the top
excellent.
two bag. Yeah.
So that just shows you something, though. Always go on bike tours with friends.
I also love how, I mean, just in terms of the overall plan for what the ride was, we had 62 miles one way, but we kind of didn't do the math great. It ended up being about 70 to 75 miles.
Yeah.
for each
Yeah, I
of
hit
us.
75.
But also, with it being just an overnight, we were doing about 140 to 150 miles in 24 hours.
Yep.
So yeah, day 2 was rough.
Join us next week for the Tale of Two Bike Tours conclusion. Moving on. Join us now as we expand your cycling nomenclature. Let's go to the keeper of cognition, the prophet of proficiency, the peddler of phraseology. Join us now with Professor Greg for Velo Vocabulary.
Welcome again. This is Greg, your Velo Vocabularist, here to help you learn the words you need to know. To get us started, we're going to go visit our princesses out on the patio with Butler Mark, serving delicious cups of knowledge.
All right, welcome to our tea party. We got Morgan, Ariana, and Sierra here. I call them the Giggle Twins because that's all they do is giggle around the house.
It's the Giggle Trio.
That is correct.
Yeah,
You are
it's the
correct. It's a Giggle Trio.
We're the Giggle Twins and all this is the Giggle.
Here's the next term I would like you guys to describe. Chewing the bar.
It's like what my dog does. She chews the bar.
So a dog is chasing you, and he gets a hold of the bar, and he's chewing on it.
That's exactly what I mean.
All right, I like that term. Who's next?
Maybe chewing the bar is going against everyone else in a way, or in bicycle terminology, an old handlebar. And then you chew it when you're riding.
And you chew it when you're riding. So basically, you're making such an effort. You're just gnawing on the bar.
I don't really know, but you stand up for yourself. You don't care that bullies say that you're not good enough to bike. I think that's what it means.
I think that's fantastic. So it's you are chewing the bar. All right, so we got standing up to bullies, chewing it like a dog, and old bars. I like these terms. I think these guys are great. What do you guys think a granny gear is?
Rain boots, a raincoat, and an umbrella.
That makes sense to me.
If it's bicycle terminology, then an old gear or rusty gear. I thought we were talking about rain stuff.
All right, there you go. From 3 of the Giggle Trio, the Giggle Sisters.
My dog chews bars.
There you go.
Yes, thank you, princesses. Unfortunately, though, chewing the handlebars actually means that as you're climbing up a hill and you are in a world of pain and it hurts and you keep pushing and you need to get up that hill and you start leaning forward on those handlebars and your face gets really close, everyone looking at you thinks you're chewing the handlebars. And for our next word, you'll find yourself inevitably climbing a hill and reaching for that last gear to find nothing left. If only you had that granny gear. It's the third small chainring up in the front, and that one gear could be enough to get you over this hill. The granny gear.
Everyone just kind of perk up a little. 'Cause
I don't need to. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good.
We're talking tour.
bikes.
I'm
Tour
just,
racing.
yeah, okay. Hey guys, we are back now with a very special segment because there's this crazy thing going on right now, the Tour de France. We know it is not
The Tour de France.
the Tour of France.
Not the Tour
No,
de
not the Tour
Ah.
de France. Tour de France.
Well, we had a wonderful segment last week. If you haven't listened to episode 8 with Kristen Wade, we did give you the beginner basics of the tour. We're going to go a little deeper now. We currently sit on the first rest day with 10 stages down for the Tour de France. If you guys aren't watching, there's still a week to go. If you don't have cable, you can get the NBC season pass. It's like $55.
Yep.
You still got a week to watch.
Yeah.
I just
Oh,
found
it's-
out today, if you have cable, though, you already have it.
Well, if you have NBC Sports as your cable package.
Ah, well, okay. Well, you should have this. So I'm going to turn it now to, of course, TC, who is one of our wonderful mechanics and hosts and bike shop owner. And also, Mark is taking a hiatus today from his Princess Tea parties. Welcome to have you back from the
Yay,
children.
thank God.
So, guys, what's going on this tour so far?
I would say that the most exciting kind of conversation right now, being at where we just finished stage 10 as we're recording this, Julian Alaphilippe.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's a young rider, not white jersey young rider, but still he's about my age. He's riding a lot more bikes than I would like to. But no, he's still in the yellow jersey. He has been for a few days. One of the few times that a Frenchman's really been kind of pushing that
Yeah.
in modern times. Recently, he's looking great. He's got a really good showing, but he's not going to finish in yellow.
No, he's not a guy for the high mountains like Ventoux, Tourmalet, anything like that. But he's making a great showing. In my opinion, it's really nice to see a French guy back wearing the yellow jersey in the French Tour. Yeah.
Well, my question is, we've had the conversation about how so much of the racing can be guys just rushing up to that camera motorcycle just to really get it out there. It sounds like with him being so young, is he really just trying to burn out early, or is he just trying to get as much up in the lead as he can while he can hold it?
And so from what I've seen, I really say that he's a young rider trying to get as much notoriety, as much fame as possible. That's him pushing so hard. One of the things that I saw an interview with his team director where he kind of highlights that, yeah, in stage 3, since he pushed so hard, he did so well, he maintained the yellow jersey, but that effort is going to cost him, because it's a 3-week race, for him to not have the energy stores that he needs a week from now.
Yeah, I mean, it's all energy. Lighting matches is probably the best way of saying it. You don't want to light all your matches out of your match book in the first week.
Yep.
Because you got a lot of racing to go.
Well, that could be an experience, though,
And
too.
exactly, yeah. He's a young.
He's excited.
He's excited. How could you not be? It's the Tour de France.
It's just the Tour de France.
It's just a Tour de... Well, and here's the things, too, is the big thing that I see is that there's a lot of guys that are in their first Tour de France and they're winning stages. One guy, Ciccone, from the Trek Sigafredo. Ooh,
Sigafredo.
Yeah, something like that.
They mix a really good espresso.
They
I
do,
can say
yeah.
that much.
For our European listeners, we're going to butcher 90% of the names and
What?
terms.
You can't say De Koenig or whatever that team name is?
Ooh, nice one. I had to listen to it about 5 times.
Yeah, me too. Exactly.
But it's his first tour on his first pro team.
Yeah.
And he's worn the yellow jersey for 3 days.
yeah.
That's
And it's fantastic.
Yeah, we've had that. We've also had, most recently, we had Wout van Aert.
Woot.
Woot, Wout,
Woot.
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 One of those names. Coming, from some guy who I used to watch in cyclocross, now on his first pro
Oh, I
road,
still watch him myself.
his first pro road tour, and he beat Elia Viviani in stage 10.
Well, and Sagan,
in an
too.
Amazing sprint. Sagan didn't get into that full sprint as he
but
wanted
he
to.
came, I think the big thing that I saw out of that sprint was he came behind. Then Sagan just went, I'm done.
Yeah. There's also that great photo of Viviani just looking at him as he's celebrating his victory.
Yeah.
Just like, who is this and where did you come from? Just dumbfounded by this child who's 24 years old.
And I think the biggest thing, too, is for people that are into road racing, they don't know who he is. But people who are into every kind of racing, they go, that's
he's
fully
awesome.
expected. He's awesome.
Completely ridiculous, yeah.
Well, a thing I kind of learned today, though, that is starting to clarify in my mind from all the conversations with you two freaks that just know everything about racing, is when you have someone like Peter Sagan, everyone's heard of him, and he's an amazing rider. He's only won, one stage so far.
Right.
I notice on the points, he is way ahead.
Here's the thing a lot of people miss is that there is 2 opportunities on a stage stage to earn points. He's always placing in the top 5
in the intermediate and the final.
Yeah. No, in the final, in the top 5.
Yeah.
That's where the main points will be the final. He's always in the top 5. If there's a small breakaway, he's always in the top 10 on the intermediate sprint points. That's how you do it, and that's
just consistency. He's always there. He's always gaining points.
Could you win, though, the yellow GC contention, right? Could you win the yellow jersey, win the Tour de France without winning a stage? Is it possible?
It has happened.
So Sagan coming in second, third, fourth, but doing it all the time, he can definitely win.
Well, except that he's not going to save he's not going to keep his times up while climbing. Who wins the GC, wins the yellow jersey, will also win the polka dot jersey as well. It's a very common kind of race result in the end of the tour. It's so apparent, especially just in the first stage. Whoever wins that first stage is typically the sprinters, but that's for their one day. Like Mark Cavendish has pulled on that yellow jersey before, and we all know that he's not going to be the one to finish at the end. Concerning last year, I think he was pulled because of wasn't able to climb and maintain that final cutoff for time.
Right.
No, I think he got kicked out.
Oh, he got kicked out.
That was your favorite.
Was this Sagan the elbow?
Yeah, that was the elbow.
But there's some times, where a rider will start in the yellow jersey and not finish the race simply because they cannot pedal fast enough to maintain the race.
Yeah, because there is a time limit on each stage. The final week and a half is really where the race starts because that's where all
really go into the
big mountains are. Also, the big thing for the first week is that we haven't seen a lot of eliminations of riders because of time or because of crashes. Crashes happen all the time in the first week because everyone's nervous, everyone wants to sprint, but there hasn't been too many except for TJ.
Oh, TJ.
Oh, poor TJ.
What happened to TJ?
He crashed.
He crashed.
I got that, but I think there's a story.
He did the absolute rookie thing of he was not paying attention to the road. He was looking down at probably a wrapper, checking out the calories on what he was eating, and hit a curb.
He has the same coach I do. I think. This sounds like something I would do, not somebody would do in Tour de France. But he said he's a rookie.
He's not
made
a rookie mistake.
He pulled a rookie mistake.
Yeah.
And it's something where you just got to kind of put yourself in their shoes where it's, okay, so who of us has ridden for 4 hours in a day? That's everyone here.
Sure.
Okay, who's ridden for 4 hours in a day 5 days a week? Okay, cool. That's most all of us have done that at some point. And then but at race pace for 3 straight weeks. It's just, the level of attention that's needed to make, to get from the start to finish of this whole race is so ridiculous. It's so insane because, literally, 5 seconds of not paying attention, looking at a wrapper, crash, hit a curb. And you can break your collarbone, you can break your wrist, you can do anything in that kind of quick bike crash. So it's such a difficult, A to Z kind of finish.
Oh, absolutely.
Look, and it's and somewhere So as a rookie, don't feel bad if you crash because guess what? The pros do it too.
I think it's a brain fatigue thing. I remember back in the when they were teaching you how to drive, they said you become velocitized when you stay 50, 60 miles an hour for hours and hours, and then you end up speeding when you get off the road. In F1, the same thing. When you have a long race, there's brain fatigue. No, there is. Corner after corner on millisecond quick decisions. I could see how riding a bike at those paces, at that speed, though, you do it for days and days in a row, you're going to just get distracted at some point.
Absolutely. And also just, general fatigue counts in as well. And so I've noticed that on one of our group rides, we have, some of the riders who push themselves almost too far towards the end. We get a little bit sloppier in those last 10 miles because people are tired. They're not as clean, not as consistent. And more things are apt to happen at that point. True
confession from 2014. When I was riding behind you one day, I rear-ended you.
Okay.
It was because we were riding 5 hours and something went wrong with the bike. No, I was just so mentally fried. I just straight up rode into the back of you.
Or you're trying to make them stop.
I don't feel bad now that the pros do it. I can finally admit this all these years later.
If you do watch most of the crashes, it's wheels crossing.
Yep.
That's where everyone hits the deck. As a matter of fact, there was a really good one where somebody tried to cut the corner too hard and just took the wheels out from the guy next to him.
It was Geraint Thomas,
Geraint Thomas, yeah. Broke his bike. I want to say it was his bike, but it hasn't come out yet.
For the rookie mistake, though, hitting the median, any serious injuries?
Broken hand for TJ.
So can he keep riding with a broken hand?
You can, but it's painful.
Cui bono.
We just got to pop on Eye of the Tiger here right alongside him in the team car. Suck it up. Come on, you got this.
And they go to the hardness of most professional bike riders. He didn't stop. He finished the stage and then went to the hospital, and the doctor said, I don't think you should ride anymore.
No, he pulled out his phone and went, "Where is he on points?" And then he made it.
Yeah,
there you go,
I feel
yeah.
like that's where it is though with these team doctors.
Yes, I mean it's very much who benefits. Who's going to benefit from him staying in this tour, possibly damaging his hand more. If he's not in contention and he's not going to help himself or the team, cool, best for him to not be racing.
Right.
So it sounds like the best thing is sometimes to get injured and not heal up. Then, like, okay, he's so terrible on the team, we're cutting him next year. It's fine.
Yeah, but then your paycheck's gone.
Well, we didn't say he needs money.
Well, so one thing that I do want to bring up is, as we're talking about how the tour is so very specialized nowadays, you've got the GC guys, the time trialists, the points guys, the mountain guys. Back in 1969, one of my favorite cyclists of all time, Eddie Merckx.
Summer of '69.
Summer of '69. It actually would have been. It would have been July of '69. Eddie Merckx won all three of those.
All three. Yep. I was going to bring that up
because it's just so amazing. I mean,
it is. He won the polka dot, yellow,
and
the white jersey. Or no, the green jersey. Yeah. The white jersey wasn't out yet.
Yes. He did win a couple other awards that were associated at the time, but he won everything.
Everything.
Is there a dominant rider like that today, though?
You can't.
You can't. That's five. He won 525 races in his professional career. There is a dominant team now, but there's not a dominant rider.
Who would you say is the dominant team now?
DeKooning
Quick-Step.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, they're probably at 60.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you've got Viviani and Alaphilippe.
Well, and then going back to what you were saying, too, is that now that the tour has become specialized, the teams have to become specialized.
Correct.
If you don't have a GC contender and you have a sprinter, that's all you're going to do.
Yeah.
Is you're going to stage hunt.
Yep. And just try and grab wins, grab notoriety when you can. How involved the domestique is now.
Right.
How many water bottles those guys carry from the back of the pack up. And it's just the tour has evolved to this incredible spectacle. But it's not to say that, years ago it wasn't still an absolutely amazing physical feat.
I want to say it was even harder back then because of how they set up the race. Because there were days where they did a time trial in the morning and then they did a circuit race at night. And again, Eddie Merckx probably won both of them at the same time. But he is my favorite cyclist also of all time.
But in a lot of the early tours, I mean, you had some riders that would end up walking their bikes up some of the climbs because, the roads were not good. The equipment was so much heavier, so much. The gear range that they had with those early bikes was not a lot.
11 to 25 in 5 gears.
In 5 gears. Yeah, and you got a 39 front ring to a 25 as opposed to a 34-32.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like such a different level of tech. There were a couple guys I saw a few years ago that tried to do a period specific recreation of the tour from 1902 and they rode the same course with the equivalent bikes and
but it's not the same road.
Well, they also didn't have cigarettes hanging out of their mouth the whole time.
They did.
Well, that opened their lungs. From whatever
exactly.
that opened your lungs at the time. And the thing too is that the longest stage was 125 miles this year. The longest stage back then was 225 miles.
Yeah, so it's evolved to being more and less brutal at the same time.
Yeah.
More brutal in the intensity and less brutal in the sheer numbers of it.
So here's the question. For all of our listeners out there, I know so many of you probably don't follow the tour, even though you're very avid cyclists, but there's still time to watch a tour. What are some of the biggest things we should look out for in the next week?
So we are really excited for, personally, I am really excited for tomorrow's stage. So that'll be Saturday's stage where they finish on the Col du Tourmalet, which in 2014 was a really fun stage to watch. Andy Schleck was in the yellow jersey, Alberto Contador in second. When you're that GC rider, when you're wearing that yellow jersey, there is a certain level of respect that is expected.
Good way of saying it.
I think that's fair. Andy Schleck, who was wearing that jersey, dropped his chain, which if you are then in contention with that rider who has dropped their chain, you ease up.
Right.
And Alberto Contador did not.
Yeah. Well, he claims that he didn't see him drop his chain.
He also claims that a butcher gave him bad meat, and that's why he tested positive. So we're just saying that's what he claims. And so, he claims that he didn't notice, didn't hear, and attacked almost at the very instant that his chain was
Well,
dropped.
if you do remember, Andy Schleck did get the last laugh because he did win the yellow jersey at the end of the race because of that test.
Because of that bad test after the bad meat from the butcher.
After the bad meat from the butcher.
So the question here then is what you're saying is that if you have someone in the yellow jersey, you really can't take advantage of a mechanical. It's not good sportsmanship.
Correct.
Exactly.
It's not good sportsmanship.
Not good sportsmanship.
Yeah. There's many historical races where people did, even with Lance Armstrong, even though nobody really liked Lance Armstrong in the peloton because of how much of he was called the boss.
He was also
for a reason.
American.
He was also American. He would have a mechanical and people would wait for him. It just made the race fair and square. I'm actually looking forward to stage 18, which is going to be 3 peaks. 2 of them are going to be above category.
Yeah.
And
What does that mean above category?
above category is it is so stinking hard that there is just no category. So there are 5 categories of climbs. So there is a
4, 3, 2, 1,
3,
and they're
yeah.
increasing in difficulty. But yeah, once they go beyond the classification for what a category 1 climb is, and it's length, it's
steepness.
grade, and then overall.
It's length,
overall, grade.
overall.
And they have to take into effect how high that climb starts, right?
Yeah.
And so what the starting elevation is. And so when you go beyond those parameters, then it's an uncategorized climb, and it's brutal.
It's brutal. Yeah.
just
it
brutal.
just take what we have in Illinois, add about 10 more of those, and they'll be
In
close to a
succession,
in succession, exactly.
Yeah.
What's going to be really brutal about that is stage 18, stage 19, and stage 20 are all going to be some form of above category climbs.
That sounds so. Wait, that deep into the race, they're just going to bring out all the big guns.
And that's and so when we talk about like who what a prediction is, I mean, my prediction is that whoever doesn't blow up after stage 20 is going to win the race, because that's just you've been racing for 2 weeks, a little bit more consistently day by day, hammering, knocking yourself out. And then, you have this just literal mountains in front of you that you have to climb in good pace.
So my prediction is that whoever designed the 2019 Tour de France is a sadist. Let's pick 3 uncategorized, insanely bigger than we have a measuring system for, and put them at the end.
They've said that about every
tour
single tour.
Well, they're stuck in that kind of like fear factor now, where every year that they get more extreme.
gotta
What
win it,
happens
yeah.
5
No.
years from now?
Well, I think Jock Anquetil also said that they were butchers at
Yes.
one point. I think
yeah.
was one of his quotes.
There's been some great quotes about some of the worst things that you can call someone for tour organizers.
Yeah.
And there has been times historically where the racers did something different than what the tour organizers put together and just kind of stopped and started walking their bikes because you're going to make us do this. Okay, we're going to do it at our own pace.
Bernard Hinault is probably
Yep.
the best. The original boss of the peloton sat down in the middle of a stage and went, "You guys are crazy." And the whole entire peloton went, "Oh, okay."
Okay, we can do that now.
Did they sit in too? So
Yeah,
like he literally just pulled a protest?
Yep, pulled a protest.
Couldn't he just take his bike and go home like a typical person would? Like, I'm going home.
I mean, he didn't own his bike.
He did,
but,
yeah.
You know.
At that point, he
he'll get it confiscated. That's sad.
Possibly. With those 3 stages being in the high mountains, stage 21, which is generally just a ceremonial stage, it might actually be a true stage.
Yeah, it could come down to a sprint finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, if 2 guys are battling up that stage 20 climb and it's it's decided by a few seconds between them, we could have a very exciting final day to this. I mean, I just love seeing professional bike riders in a race drinking champagne in the middle of the race. It's just so much fun to watch.
Oh, so you guys heard it there first from Princess Party Merc on hiatus from his Girl Tea vacation in TC. There's a lot to see left in this tour, guys, so get out there and watch it. Now let's join Mark for another amazing tale of triumph and woe.
Let me bring you back to 1986 at the Tour de France. This was when the American slayed the Badger. The American was Greg LeMond. He was a cycling sensation at the time. He was coming from winning the Tour's white jersey as the young rider in 1985. Now it was his turn to take the yellow jersey. The Badger, who was Bernard Hinault, was not ready to lose this Tour de France this year. It would have been his 6th Tour win, even though he did tell Greg he would help him win. Those two fought back and forth during that tour until finally Greg prevailed, with the first American to ever win the overall at the Tour de France. Now, this is a very shortened version of this story, but I think Greg won this tour hands down and made me a racing enthusiast that I am.
Oh, my friends, that has been another episode of the Crank Revolution podcast. First thing we'd like to say is thank you. Thanks for being our listeners and sharing the show with your friends. Leave us a rating or a review wherever you get your podcasts. We love the feedback. You can reach out to us by email at crankrevolutioncycling@gmail.com and find us on Facebook at Crank Revolution Media. Yeah, don't forget to join us next week for more cycling shenanigans. And don't forget to watch the tour. See you guys all next week.